the women of the WNBA, I mean, they're driving me bat blank crazy because, well, they won't shut up. It's like drama after drama, and I guess it's smart. She told us women in sports don't want to see other women in sports succeed. Now, Sheryl Swoopes certainly is number one on that hit parade.
Did you hear what Sheryl Swoopes said about Caitlin Clark? She claimed no one wants to play with her, but here's where it gets interesting. Kelly Krauss, Clark's new boss, just fired back with a response that's got everyone talking.
And I would think that if you are a smart basketball player and you watch the way she plays, you would want to play with her. She, much like Tyrese Halliburton, she gets you the ball in places that you didn't even know you were open because she passes to space, she finds openings and ways to free up other players. So
Swoopes, a WNBA legend, shocked everyone when she said, "Players in the Indiana Fever locker room don't want to play with Clark." Can you believe it? The hottest prospect in women's basketball. And Swoopes is saying no one wants her. It's wild.
I don't know, the latest, Sheryl Swoopes, who seems to be the village idiot and keeps talking and talking, and I didn't even know Sheryl Swoopes still existed until, she started talking and talking and talking negatively about Caitlin Clark. Well, she says nobody on the Fever want to play with Caitlin Clark. Yeah, I got two words for you. My ass. If you don't want to play with Caitlin Clark, guess what? You're not going to be on the Fever very long. You better be pretty good that somebody else picks you up. New president.
The internet exploded. Fans, players, and analysts were all over social media, arguing about what this means. For women's basketball, is there a divide in the league? Are veterans threatened by new talent?
Somebody else picks you up. New president of the Fever, Kelly Kasparov, who is one of the great ladies in sports. She is. She seems to, and I don't think she did here, but it seems to be she threw a little bit of shade at Sheryl Swoopes. Sheryl Swoopes, the accusation after the WNBA icon, Sheryl Swoopes, suggested nobody wants to play with Caitlin Clark. Kelly Kasparov, her remarks directly oppose what Sheryl Swoopes said.
But then, out of nowhere, Kelly Krauss steps in. You might be wondering, who's Kelly Krauss? Well, she's Clark's new boss at the Fever, and she's not holding back her response. It's about to change everything. Are you ready for this?
Boston in the Fever locker room, but I will say this. If somebody that plays women's basketball and is not a point guard doesn't want to play with Caitlin Clark, then you're a damn fool. No, I'm going to say it again, then you're a damn fool. And believe me, what we have seen in the WNBA is there are a lot of damn fools.
But before we dive into Kelly's big move, let's talk about what the legends are saying. Enter Sheryl Swoopes. First Swoopes questioned Clark's ability to adapt to the WNBA. She said, the game is faster, the players are stronger. Can she adjust? It seems like Swoopes enjoys downplaying Clark's records, almost as if she's overlooking Clark's record-breaking college career. I mean, come on. Clark's been dominating against top-tier talent for years.
You asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it.
Okay.
Right.
When she was called out for it, she played the victim and called Clark a bully.
I mean, if you want to talk about bullies, we can talk about every time Caitlin has the ball, she pushes off.
Oh, no.
I'm just saying.
But Swoopes took it a step further, questioning Clark's potential dominance in the WNBA. I don't think she'll be as dominant as everyone thinks. Swoopes said that's a bold claim, especially considering Clark's impressive track record of elevating her teammates. Performance, her exceptional passing skills, and high assist numbers speak volumes about her selfless approach to the game.
So will Caitlin Clark be a good pro? Absolutely. Will Caitlin Clark come into the WNBA and do what she's doing right now? Immediately? Absolutely not. Not gonna happen.
Okay.
Remember, when basketball was all about individual stats, well, Krauss just flipped that idea on its head. She's not just talking about Clark's skills. She's painting a picture of a whole new era in women's basketball. What if everything we thought we knew about star players was about to change?
We are only a few weeks into the Indiana Fever's offseason, and we are already seeing some major moves from players and the Indiana Fever front office. So they just hired a brand new president. Her name is Kelly Krauss. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Anyway, Kelly had her opening press conference and she was asked a lot of questions, and a lot of the media was wondering, where do we go from here? What does the future of the Indiana Fever look like? Here,
Kelly KRA, the new president of basketball operations for the Indiana Fever, just stepped into the spotlight. And she's not pulling any punches. Her response to Sheryl Swoopes isn't just a defense of Caitlin Clark. It's a game share for the entire WNBA.
Anyway, Kelly had her opening press conference and she was asked a lot of questions, and a lot of the media was wondering, where do we go from here? What does the future of the Indiana Fever look like? Here's what she had to say about the Caitlin Clark effect and carrying the success of this season forward into the future of...
On from this.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we've seen such a huge inflection of attention, and you know, her play, just the way she plays the game, I think that's going to be sustainable.
So who is Kelly Krauss? And why does her opinion matter so much as the Fever's new boss? She's got the power to shape the team's future. But more than that, she's bringing a fresh perspective to the league, while Swoopes represents the old guard. Krauss is all about embracing the future of women's basketball.
There's clearly... there's something about the way she plays the game, her passing, her shooting, that people really identify with. And our backcourt, I think, is probably going to be one of the best in the league.
Now, let's talk about what Krauss actually said. She didn't just say Clark was good. She compared her to NBA star Tyrese Halliburton. That's huge. Krauss said, she gets you the ball in places that you didn't even know you were open, because she passes to space. Can you imagine the impact a player like that could have on a team?
She, much like Tyrese Halliburton, she gets you the ball in places that you didn't even know you were open, because she passes to space, she finds openings and ways to free up other players. So, you know, I look at just really how her and Kelsey work together and the efficiency of the offense because of the way that she plays the game. And I would think that would be a big draw. You know, I plan on, I think it's an easy picture to paint.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Krauss isn't just praising Clark's skills. She's challenging the whole way we think about basketball. She's saying it's not just about individual talent anymore. It's about how one player can elevate the entire team.
You brought in a team that is going to a lot of the time be able to space the floor around them to use it to take advantage of the pace that Tyrese Halliburton allows you to play with. And if you add the ability to be one of the better scorers in the WNBA, which Caitlin Clark is. So she knows the archetype of players that this team needs to get. She knows you need to sign athletes and floor spacers, and that's it. Athletic floor spacers ideally, but I don't know how many of them there are in the WNBA.
Think about it. How many times have we seen a star player who's all about their own stats? Krauss is saying Clark is different. She's talking about Clark's ability to create opportunities for her teammates to make everyone around her better. That's a whole new level of play.
I mean, this is about the Indiana Fever.
A couple things that I love that she said. One, she praised her star players. She did not hold back. She admitted to the success that is Caitlin Clark, and that this organization has not seen this kind of influx and fandom and viewership and all of these things. And she also said that she wants to keep the fans happy, and she understands how important they are, and she understands the opportunity that the Fever have in their hands here. And that is something that this Indiana Fever organization truly needs, this sort of mindset in their front office in order to be a successful team and use Caitlin Clark to her full ability and develop this team.
And it's not just how KRA is backing it up with strategy. She's already thinking about how Clark will work with other players on the team, like Kelsey Mitchell. She's planning for a future where the Fever isn't just Clark's team. It's a team where everyone shines because of how they play together.
Our backcourt, I think, is probably going to be one of the best in the league between her and Kelsey. It's a dynamic duo right there. But I think we're going to work at it. We understand. I've been through this, not to this level, but we've had points where, incremental points where we've had, the tide lift a little bit and then go back down. So, we're going to work at making sure that we capture all the opportunities to
this clash between Krauss and Swoopes. It's not just about one player. It's about the future of the WNBA. Krauss is signaling a shift in how we value players, how we build teams, and how we define success in women's basketball. And you might be thinking, okay, but why does this matter? Well, think about how the NBA has evolved over the years. The teams that win championships aren't just collections of superstars. They're well-oiled machines where every player has a role. Krauss is saying the WNBA is heading in that direction too. And Clark is the perfect player to lead that change.
Fits around a point guard like her is going to make us awfully dangerous. And I'm looking forward to that challenge because, you're looking for the right types of players that can play that style of basketball around her.
You've seen the stats, you've heard the hype. But here's where it gets wild. Caitlin Clark isn't just turning heads, she's turning the tide of an entire sport. How can one player have such a massive impact? And why are some of the biggest names in basketball suddenly taking notice? Let's break it down. Clark's playing style isn't just good, it's revolutionary. For the WNBA, Kelly Krauss, her new boss at the Indiana Fever compared her to NBA star Tyrese Haliburton. That's not just a compliment. It's a game-changer. Crow said, "She gets you the ball in places that you didn't even know you were open, because she passes to space." Can you imagine what that does for a team?
So much synergy, right? I mean, there's a lot of similarities. The good news is I do have a blueprint personally because that's what I did around a player named Tamika Catchings. It was, rookie of the year herself as well as, MVP. So I see so many similarities in Caitlin and Tyrese, primarily because they control the tempo of the game. And we want to play almost identical to the way the Pacers are playing, or maybe they want to play like we're playing.
But it's not just about fancy passes. Clark's unique value on the court comes from her ability to elevate her teammates. She's not just scoring, she's creating opportunities for everyone around her. That's why Krauss and others are so eager to have her on their team. They're not just getting a star player, they're getting someone who can transform their entire offense.
And she understands the opportunity that the Fever have in their hands here. And that is something that this Indiana Fever organization truly needs, this sort of mindset in their front office in order to be a successful team and use Caitlin Clark to her full ability and develop this team.
LeBron has expressed strong support for Caitlin, praising her court vision, energy, and potential as a team player. His admiration highlights her promising future and suggests that she's on a path to greatness.
Flown commercial or flown, charter, that should be celebrated, and it's because of Caitlin Clark. Don't get it twisted, don't get it fucked up. Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is gonna happen for the WNBA. But for her individually, I don't think she should get involved on nothing that's being said. Just go, have fun, enjoy.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, she's good, but is she really that special? Well, let me tell you something. When LeBron James is talking about you, you know you're doing something, right?
This team, it's still a team game, people. It is still a team game. And, but I'm rooting for Caitlin because I've been in that seat before. I've walked that road before. I hope she kills. I hope Aaliyah Boston does amazing. I hope they do great. I'm just kind of in this mode right now because I'm getting the same, thing from watching my son, who's a 19-year-old, kind of getting a lot of animosity and hatred towards him when he's just a kid trying to live out his dream.
The king himself also said she has the vision, she has the spirit, she's infectious and people want to play with her. That's not just praise, that's a superstar, recognizing another superstar in the making.
Brian O'Keefe of Esquire, Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James also suggested Swoopes' Clark accusations were nonsensical. Clark has the vision, she has the spirit, she's infectious, and people want to play with her, James said. The Fever are going to be a really good team, and not too long from now.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Clark's impact isn't just on the court, it's changing the whole game off the court too. She's bringing in more viewers, more media, attention, and more excitement to women's basketball than we've seen in years.
People, it's hard to argue the impact Clark has had on both ratings and attendance for the WNBA. This is something that I've said, y'all. And to buffer my point, take a look at this full screen, please. Not only did this year's WNBA All-Star Game set a record with 3.4 million viewers, an increase of over 300% from the 2023 game, but the top 12 WNBA broadcasts this season have all been Fever games. Top 12. On top of that, the Fever lead the WNBA in attendance at over 16,000 fans per game.
And you know what? This isn't just about basketball anymore. Clark's success is challenging some deep-rooted narratives in the sport for years. There's been this idea that white female athletes in basketball were somehow less exciting or less marketable. But Clark, she's blowing that idea out of the water. She's not just playing great basketball. She's changing how people think about women's sports. She's proving that skill, vision, and teamwork are what really matter, regardless of race or gender. And that's huge for the future of the WNBA and women's sports in general. General F.
That yang, yo. She does. She doesn't worry about nothing. What other people think about, you can tell she missed some shots in one game, but going into the next game, she was on fire. She ain't worried about anybody else. She knows what she's capable of and just keeps getting better. I tried to tell you, look, here's the deal. That's what resonates with Caitlin Clark. It isn't her being white. It isn't her being straight. It isn't her being on the Indiana Fever, for crying out loud. Her game resonates with people in basketball and across the country because she's got that edge. She plays with a flair, but she's got that edge.
Think Caitlin Clark's story ends there. Think again. This isn't just about one player anymore. It's sparking a revolution in women's basketball. How can a single rivalry change an entire sport? You're about to find out. You might be thinking, okay, but why does this matter? Well, let me tell you, this is changing. How people see women's basketball. More eyes are on the game than ever before. People who never gave the WNBA a second thought are suddenly tuning in, eager to see what all the fuss is about.
This is exactly why the WNBA and USA Basketball and everybody else that's got access to Caitlin Clark should be trying to push her to the top of everything. Because do you know why we wanted to look at this last night? Because of Caitlin Clark. You know who we're talking about right now? A'ja Wilson. Mm-hmm. If not for Caitlin Clark, would we even be talking about A'ja Wilson?
And it's not just fans. The players themselves are part of this conversation. They're using their platforms to speak out, to challenge old ideas, and to push for change. This isn't just about Caitlin Clark anymore. It's about every player who's ever felt undervalued or overlooked.
She would still be the WNBA's single-season scoring leader.
I think so. I think if she did, yeah.
I don't know that.
I think, yeah.
Did you talk about A'ja Wilson? Did you and I? Do you remember one conversation we had about A'ja Wilson last year? One. Here's my point. Because of Caitlin Clark, we are very aware that A'ja Wilson is awesome.
But here's where it gets really interesting, this controversy. It's actually bringing people together. Sure, there's disagreement, but there's also dialogue. People are talking about the future of women's basketball in a way they never have. Before, they're asking tough questions, challenging assumptions, and imagining what the sport could become. And you know what? That's exactly what the WNBA needs. This league is on the cusp of something big, and countries like this, they're fuel for the fire. They're pushing the sport forward, forcing it to evolve and grow.
This controversy has done more than just ignite debates online. It's bringing attention to the WNBA on a much larger scale. We've seen this before in sports history. Drama, rivalries, and heated debates often fuel viewership. Think about the Bird vs. Magic rivalry in the NBA. It wasn't just about two players. It was about two different narratives clashing, and it ultimately elevated the entire league.
So what does this mean for the future of women's basketball? It means we're in for some exciting times. We're going to see new stars rise, new salaries, new styles of play emerge, and new ways of thinking about what makes a great player and a great team.
And I hope that next season it gets cleaned up, because we're gonna have more young superstars coming in the league. Like, we can't have this kind of jealousy, pettiness towards them. We don't want it towards Paige. We don't want it towards Haley. We don't want it towards Flage. We don't want it towards Juju. Like, there's a long list of players who are going to be coming in over the next few seasons, but this is the future of the WNBA. This is the future where in 5 years these women can be making 7-figure salaries.
The point is, you could see a lot of people wearing Indiana Fever jerseys years from now, and that's what she's trying to capitalize on.
Because right now,
to where I became an Indiana Fever fan because of Caitlin Clark, but in 15, 20 years, it's going to be a big story if the Indiana Fever don't make the playoffs or don't win the championship, because we are going to be the standard bearer of this league. And